Hello, everyone. It's me, Joe, here for the HCA Longbox. I'm flying solo today because Tessa is on vacation. She's one of the hardest working women in social media, so she deserves it. So while she's gone, today I'm going to do a short episode breaking down why the last man. Well, not really breaking down, but giving it the send off because we know why the Last Man, the finale was happened this week, and that's it. They're not renewing it. So we're going to talk about Why the Last Man, and I'm going to give you some information from the comics because there's big deviations, some of them controversial, and we're going to just really, you know, um, see kind of come to a kind of a last thoughts on the show. Um, and I would love to hear what you think in the comments. So if you're hearing this later on, even tell me in the comments, what do you think of Why the Last Man? Should it go, should it stay? Let me make a case for one or the other by talking about the comic connections, and then we'll make this work. And then next week Tessa will be back, and we will have a special nighttime episode of the long box. It's going to be amazing. So you have to stick around for that. So my name is, of course, Jonita Davis, and you can find me everywhere at Jonita L. Davis. No, it's this one. I get my sides mixed up. Everywhere, Jonita L. Davis on all socials, and you can find all of my work at the Black Cape .com and the Black Cape Media on YouTube. So let's break down into it. Why the Last Man is it's really a comic that I got notes here. Excuse my lights. For some reason I cannot get my lighting right for I don't know, for the life of me. But Why the Last Man is a comic that I discovered years ago, and I loved it because it was something different. It was not your run of the mill apocalypse story. It was a story of this man who really he's the last man on earth. I mean, he's the last man on earth, and the how, the why, the what do we do now, the where. I mean, all of that kind of had me intrigued. And so the thing about the book is, if you guys are familiar with the book, we never really found out why. Hello out there. We never really found out why Yorick, that's the Y is for, yeah, my YMCA pose. We never find out why Yorick is the last man. We don't. We just never get there. And apparently, there's a reason, and I'll tell you about that here in a little bit. So I'm going to open this image. I want to like put this image up to show you guys, so we can have a visual here on screen. Share my screen here with you. Sure, I don't have audio, but I'm going to share it anyway. Okay, so I'm going to talk, and we're going to have this image up. So this is the book, Why the Last Man, by Brian K. Vaughan and Pia Guerrera, Jose Marzan Jr. Okay, so book one, I read the volume. I didn't get the single issues because by the time I got to it, the single issues were already selling out. It was so popular. The basic story in the comics, Yorick is unemployed escape artist, not a magician. He's an escape artist. Okay, let me get that clear. He has his monkey partner, who's also a male, and together they there we go. And together these two are the last Y chromosome bearing people on Earth. The monkey's name he's a chimp, I think. He's really cute. His name is Ampersand. Ampersand, the big, and thing. and so, which I think is really, really, kind of cerebral and nerdy. Because if I had that's like something that an English major like me would name a pet. But that's why it's another reason why I kind of like Yorick in this one. But he's a guy. He's an unemployed escape artist. He's got this monkey for a pet. He's proposing to his girlfriend. It never goes off because the phone dies. We see somewhere else that there's a woman, there's a baby coming in. Everything's like, it's like really in a hospital. There's something about this kid. Who knows? Cut to, Hero, who is Yorick's sister, doing the do with her EMT guy, married. He gets a call. Shit starts to happen. So we do get to see a little bit of, and we do get to see a little bit of what happens. So everyone, every person, everything, I think everything on the earth that has a Y chromosome dies. Like blood spewing out of their orifices, dying. Just all of a sudden, just done. There's no drawn out thing like The Stand, where people are like dying over the course of months from a virus, and it's really mucusy and disgusting. If anybody have read The Stand, no, it's like everybody, you just kind of start puking blood, and it comes out of your eyeballs and everything else, and you're dead. And like just like that, all the men are wiped out. Done. We see 355 in this issue too. In the first issue, 355 is, as you know, is the kick-ass assassin chick, who is in the show. We see her tasked with getting Yorick first to his mom, getting Yorick safely to the scientist Allison Mann, and then to the lab that Allison wants to go to in San Francisco. Well, in the book, 355 is on an extra mission in the beginning. And so in the beginning of the show, she's on a mission, but she's in like Oklahoma or something. She's setting off a bomb or something. She's embedded somewhere. We don't know. In the book, though, she is embedded in the Middle East. She is she's like coming in and looking like taking down, I don't know, some government or something. Turns out she's trying to get a certain amulet, away from a certain this official, Dr. Hamad, and we'll talk about that in a little bit too. But yeah, so we see her, and then we see Jennifer Brown. Jennifer arguing with some of, just like in the show, she had problems with the conservatives and the administration. They were everywhere, and they were unreasonable, and they were just as annoying as Amber Tamlin's character was in the show. And we see her arguing with somebody. So we get a glimpse of what our main characters are doing right there in the beginning. And then all of a sudden, nastiness with the blood and stuff. And then we get a little bit more, but then it's like a certain jump to the future. It's like years later. I guess we get a little bit more of the story, but then the jump is like pretty early on. And we like that, to me, in the story, the way they told it, I was like okay with it, because okay, so we don't get to see all the breakdown. So maybe the main story is not about the breakdown of society. In the books, the main story is how Yorick and Ampersand and 355 and Allison Mann and Hero and all these people, how they navigate a world where there's nobody with a Y chromosome in it, a new world, and it basically explores what the new structures are. That's the point of the book. And also, there's also a controversial part of the book where they didn't say any human, any person, any animal with a Y chromosome. They said man. They went with men. They kindly decided that there was no third option. Everyone who identified as anything that was not cis male or cis female, you're kind of over here. That's what they tried to do. Now, there was a mention, there are mentions of trans men very briefly, and then in the beginning, and then trans men are mentioned when we get to the daughters of the Amazons, and not in a good way. So that was, I mean, that was really homophobic of you, Brian K. Vaughan. You should have known better. But that really kind of, it was kind of disturbing a little bit about the first one. But the story is intriguing though, and sadly, I have to say, when I first read it, I did move past that. I shouldn't have. And now when I look back and read it, it's kind of like, are we really going this way? So yeah, that first book we introduced to all of our characters. Now, the difference between the first book and the first episode of Y the Last Man is, first of all, we don't get all this backstory. Actually, the whole first season, this whole season that just passed, is more backstory than what we get in the book. We don't get to see how the daughters of the Amazon, we get a little bit of how they were created, but not as much as we got now. We don't get as much of, Hero and Yorick and their moms and dad's backstory. We get some, but it goes deeper. It goes so much deeper, the show did. And that was one of the things I appreciated. It went so much deeper. It actually showed the breakdown of society when you take out, basically half the population. No, a little more than half. It was like 60 something percent. You take out a little more than half because you're not just taking out men, you're taking out all people with a Y chromosome. So you're talking about trans people, you're talking about intersex people, you're talking about people with chromosomal changes or disorders or genetic disorders where they have a Y chromosome and they're genetically female. You have, or they identify. You have all these and there's so many other iterations and reasons why you would have non-men, people who are not men, having Y chromosomes. They are all wiped out as well. So it's more than half the population. But when they're gone, they're gone. And you see the fallout from that. And excuse my grandkids in the background, you guys. The fallout from that. Now, in the book, we didn't get a really deep dive into the fallout from that. The breakdown, the crumbling of things. I mean, we even didn't really. I mean, we didn't see the White House overthrown and things like that. Like it was. Yeah. It's canceled too soon. I'm gonna show some comments right quick. Hi, how are you doing, babe? Terry, canceled too soon. Yeah, I liked the comic and I thought the show actually was really, really good. And the show actually, to me, the show actually was much more responsible than the comic because, like, again, it went into all beings with the Y chromosome, not just all men. And the show showed us so much more backstory. One thing I didn't like, okay, so that's a couple things I liked. I did not like, though, the show. Was it me or did Yorick seem whiny in the show? Like, I'm like, Yorick, stop. Suck it up. I found myself like, okay, man up, dude. Okay, don't say man up. We can't say man up because it's no more men. There's no more people with the work. So, but I wanted to just kind of like man up Yorick, because every time you turn around, he's whining about something, and people are trying to save his life, and he's going against it. So I'm like, stop it. In the comics, though, he did ask a lot of questions. He didn't like just go with everything, but he was a lot easier to digest, I think. In the comics, I think he was. So yeah, in the modernized subject matter, yeah. So another thing that I didn't like it, but I liked that I didn't like it, was Amber Tamblin's character. That woman, I wanted to throw her out a window, actually. That's my puppy Bruce saying hi. Yes, my kids named him Bruce. Weird DC stands in this house. Okay, so back to Amber Tamblyn. We've seen Amber Tamblyn as, Joan of Arcadia, as every character she's played a good person, and there's always a socially responsible, theme to or cause or something that her characters are attached to. Not this one. Mm-mm. This woman is terrible. She's terrible, and she's like she's really really hard to take, and she's all the time just meddling and meddling. And in that final episode, I don't know. I'm kind of glad that I will jump ahead to my analysis. I'm kind of glad that for her character that this was over, because did y'all see that final episode? She had a sex dream about Yorick, and now she wants to go get Yorick to make him all hers so that he can make her babies and bring her babies back. Did y'all see that? She just went nuts, and she's like after him because of that reason. And I'm like, okay, yeah, let's cut this. I don't, we don't need to go there. That's not, no. Done with her. Aggressively antagonistic, yes, definitely. She was definitely put there just to make us like, ugh. And that's because in the books there was that conservative element that they were like constantly bucking Jennifer. And Jennifer did have it, like in the show you saw her piecing together the government against all of the odds, against all of what the widows were standing for. She had to mitigate everybody's emotions and problems, and everybody forgot that she lost her husband. And as far as they knew, that she lost her son. So nobody was thinking about that. They were thinking about the fact that, oh, we lost this, we did this, and why do you want us to work now? That was kind of similar in the book. That there were some people that were, just ready to hop to it. But yeah. I just I really again love the way the show just kind of went deeper into, okay, they weren't just a pain in her butt. These women actually overthrew her, or these women overthrew her. There was this thing that happened at the White House where it was overthrown. She had to leave. There was another president. There's not another president because that woman was shot because she wouldn't stop running her mouth, which I kind of clap for that. Probably shouldn't have clapped for that. When when that scene and it happened, I should not have clapped for that. Anyway, so we at the end of this episode, at the end of the season, everything is in chaos, everything's in flux, everybody's everywhere. And we find out that somebody has given Yorick and Allison Mann and 355 a truck, a whole like a mobile lab, a truck with a full tank, and just everything they need to just move forward with their journey. Now, they never talk about the group that 355 is associated with, but I think that the truck was a kind of an introduction, going to be our introduction to them. The Culper Ring. Do y'all remember that? The Culper Ring people? They were this mysterious like cult, like not cult, but they were this mysterious band of spies maybe, assassins. They're kind of government, maybe not, I don't know for sure. But they were the people who 355 got her orders from. And this one, 355 got her orders straight from the president and nobody else. And the comics, though, the Culper Ring was bigger, and I think that the president was a part of it, knew of it, had some command of it. I can't remember exactly, but there was a government overlap, but they were, for all intents and purposes, they were their own thing. And 355 was a part of that. And 355, though, before she was tasked with getting Yorick safely to his mother, and then to Allison, 355 was trying to get an amulet from a Dr. Frozan, Frozan Hamad. This amulet had magical powers. 355, the moment that 355 got the amulet, the Y chromosomes just sort of snapped. The ring wanted the amulet for some reason. We never really knew why, and I don't think the comics ever said why, but the amulet kept coming back. Um, the Culpa ring, I think, with that final episode of the show on TV, I think that if there was a season 2, we would be introduced to the Culpa ring somehow. But I think they would be somebody that's like there'd be somebody who I want to do Jordan, the vague mystic stuff. All those games really references that. Yes, I wonder. So I'm wondering if the Culpa ring comes out and they're 355 thought she was getting orders from the president, but she's really getting orders from that ring, because we saw 355's her people in the White House. I'm wondering if maybe that comes out and they're just working behind the scenes and under everything and they're controlling everything. Maybe that. And then the vague mystic stuff. The engagement ring, yes, there was some references to that, but still though, I mean, it still didn't, I don't know. The amulet, the ring, I still didn't know if they were going to be. I don't know what was going to happen with that. If the show was going to go harder with the amulet and the mystic stuff, and say that was the reason, because the mystic stuff was only one reason why this happened. At the end of the book run, people were saying, "Oh, the amulet is the reason why and the mystical whatever is beyond around it is the reason why all the Y chromosome people died." Other people said no, there were other reasons, but the amulet was part of it. Amulet was not part of this season at all. I mean, there's like a little bit about the ring, but no, maybe it's in the background. I think, yes, the comics always kept it vague. Yes, they did, but I think they kind of threw it in there when they kind of got themselves in a corner. Okay, this is me saying this. I think that the mystic stuff was there when they kind of got themselves in the corner and didn't know how to get out of it. And I was like, let's just throw this in there. Anyway, I really think that we would have been introduced to some form of the Culpa ring if there was a season 2. I hoped, like Terry here, that they would have gone in deep into the mystical element. I was kind of hoping they would not do that. So with it not happening, then maybe we're saved from that. Maybe. Yep. The political drama. Yes. The politics and how the people set up afterwards, and the human drama. That's what really, really got us, because talk about human drama, y'all. Let's get away from the Brown family for a minute, and let's talk about the daughters of the Amazons. Those women were some wild women in the book. I mean, in the series. In the series, these women all came together. They lived in a Costco type place, and they were ruled by this woman who's was insane. She's okay. You tell me that she okay. You can say she wasn't insane, but I'm telling you that she was a very insane. She had her own background, her own reasons, but she really, really, she was really crazy. She was crazy. I don't care what anybody says. Fight me. She was crazy, and so I just. And her name was not, so in the comics, the leader of the daughters was Victoria. In the book, I mean in the show, it was Roxanne. And so Roxanne, she was she wanted to eliminate all of everybody, all of the men. So, and in the show, everybody with Y chromosome, but you still had trans men there living. She wanted all the trans men to die. All of them. I mean, in the comics, they wanted all the trans men to die. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up. So in the comics, Victoria wanted to kill everything left that was on Earth. So she wanted all the men, trans men too, to die. Everything masculine. If it was masculine, it had to be killed. That's her. That was Miss Victoria. The daughters of the Amazons were rougher. they actually were more organized because we saw because of the leap, so they had time to get themselves together, to find their strengths, to band together. They had a like organization. Their organization was like not just in that one little cobble. They were all over the country, that was left of the country, and they were knocking over sperm banks and destroying them, because what's more masculine than a sperm bank, right? They were destroyed. They did not want masculinity to come back at all. Talk about radical feminism. I think this is even more radical than radical feminism. This is these women wanted Yorick to die. They wanted him dead, and they wanted the monkey dead too. Ampersand did not have a chance. All men, anything male, anything masculine had to die. So Sam in the show, no, would not have lived. Hero's friend would not have lived, because Sam was a trans man, and just they let Sam walk away in the show and leave. No, in the comics, Sam wouldn't have lived as long as he did. So they were ruthless, and I'm wondering if in season 2, if we would have gotten that ruthless, cobble of people, if we wouldn't have gotten, because I think they were under, I want to say Nora, was kind of over the leader at the end of the finale, because remember, Roxanne had to go. She had led them basically into an ambush. Like, how many of y'all were like me in that last episode saying, okay, you're going, women, stop, because you're going into a prison. These women are not, that town looks deserted. These look like, you think these are helpless women? Y'all are housewives. These women were imprisoned. They're murderers, and they've got criminal records. They know how to do things. They know how to handle weapons and guns and stuff. And in the meantime, they probably trained the others who didn't. They are organized. They are protecting their area. Y'all need to leave that town alone and go bust down another town. I was like saying that to, the screen, not like anybody could say it. And so they walked in all badass on the show, thinking, oh, we're going to take this town, us in our little pink shirts. And they got massacred. I think that in the beginnings, the Daughters of the Amazons probably had a lot of those skirmishes, and before they learned and they gathered more people who knew how to organize. I kind of glad we saw some of that, and saw like what their first leader was, who the woman that created them was. But the comics, I don't know. I kind of like in the comics how we saw them organized and what they were after and what they were doing, versus the beginning. I don't know. I think that if season 2, they'd be more polished, or showing them getting more polished, I think would have been an easy split between the two, because I like the comics version of the Daughters of the Amazons, but I also like to see their beginning. So seeing a little bit more of how they got there was great. And yes, I'm glad that Roxy was gone as well. I couldn't stand her. She was terrible. But yeah, those broads they're ruthless, really, really bad. Allison, Allison Mann, I didn't get to her. So Allison Mann is the scientist who in the show did all of this work on Y chromosomes. And so Jennifer was like, it's told 355, I need to get Yorick to her, so that she can find out what happened to all the other Y chromosomes, and we can get everybody back. In the show, Allison is like, she's more ethical, I think, of a scientist. She's a good person. And she thinks of others. She's not a maniacal scientist like the Allison Mann in the comics. Allison Mann in the comics is we see her birthing a clone. Allison Mann has made the first clone. And the moment the clone is born is when everything fell down. So this is theory number 2. So the first theory of why everybody died was the amulet. Theory number 2 is that the universe or nature or whatever, if you think back to The Happening, that not so great M. Night Shyamalan movie where the trees sort of gave off pollen and killed people, a similar thing happened. So once Allison Mann gave birth, or once she produced the first clone and asexual reproduction was possible, there was no need for the Y chromosome. So nature killed off all the Y chromosomes. It was a natural thing. So it was like a natural failsafe, a natural off switch. Kind of like, I guess, when humans were made, there was like a natural little safeguard put in, one of those do not break glass in case of. And so at some point somewhere, somebody broke the glass, because in case of asexual reproduction in humans, if that's ever a thing, break glass. And they pushed the button and all the Y chromosomes just kind of dropped. That's what happened in the comics. And that's one of the theories. In the book, Allison Mann is also, ends up traveling with them. The clone doesn't live, by the way. Allison Mann ends up traveling with them, ends up having a relationship with 355. I don't know if you call it a relationship, but yeah, there's something. And they're this little group. I like Allison better in the show though, because in the show she's like easier to kind of digest. I think, and there's not this whole clone business, because I think again the clone, like the mystic amulet, the clone business was kind of some vague shady something that I just like, okay, that I don't even know if I want to start to pick that apart, right? Yeah, so I'm glad we didn't go there. I don't know if they would have gone there no, they wouldn't, because they didn't even lay the groundwork to even go there in the second season. I think Allison in the second season, maybe she would have gotten close to figuring out what happened, or maybe she would create asexual reproduction. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, you want to see the clone? Oh, you wanted the clone. To me, the clone stuff was just like the amulet. It was just too much busy work. It's too much busy work, and it's like clouding the everything else. Now, if Allison does figure out, if like in season 2, she's like get to the lab and she's doing her thing, and she's like, I figured out how to asexual reproduction. Yeah, that'd be something. But I didn't want them to make it like they did in the comics. This is ooh, could this be the reason why all the men died? I didn't want them to do that. So yeah. Okay, so Allison Mann. I'm trying to make sure I cover everybody. Hero. Now Hero is York's sister, and Hero actually in the comics and the book, to me, they're about even. Her story, I think, is the only story that kind of stayed consistent from the comics to the show, because in the show she was doing the do with the Joe, the married EMT. Joe, the married EMT, gets a call from his wife, and right before the event happens, and Hero's like, but there's this whole skirmish thing that happens, and Hero thinks that and Hero kind of kills Joe. Anyway, that was weird. I had to take a second to remember. I was like, yeah, that was weird. But in the comics, Hero has this kind of thing where she's just like going through life, and she's sleeping with this EMT. She doesn't know what to do with herself. And I don't know. I mean, in the comics, she kind of still keeps that flighty type of behavior because one thing about the Daughters of the Amazon is they brainwash people. It's not, you saw a little bit of it in this one where, you know, she Roxy just kind of indoctrinated people into the cult of her. They improved upon like actual brainwashing, and Hero was actually brainwashed. And so Hero and you know, she got to get extracted. Hero, I think in the show was, I mean in the books was just like she was a liability. She was. I'll say it. She's a liability. Okay, yeah, they did give her more depth. They did. And in the last episode we saw that I think that was when she was going to break from the Daughters of the Amazon sooner than she would, I mean, in the comics. But yeah, she's supposed to break from the Daughters of the Amazon, join her mother, and they're supposed to go hunting for Yurik. So I think that in the show she's got more depth. It shows why she's the way she is, because I don't think in the comics they gave a good enough reason why she is the way she is. But in the book it's like, okay, she's this privileged girl who thinks she's got all these problems, but all her problems are first world problems, and she basically needs a good therapist. But yeah, she's thinking she needs a purpose in life, and that's what she's looking for, is a purpose. And the Daughters of the Amazon gave her a purpose, and that's why she went with them in the show. It wasn't really, I don't think it was brainwashing in the show. I think that she needed some kind of purpose, some kind of focus in her life, and this group of women gave her that, and that's why she went with them. But she found out though, when her purpose clashed with her family at the last episode, when it was either her or Yurik, and she ended up having to shoot one of her fellow sisters of the Amazon, to let her brother free. I think when that decision came and that decision was made, I think that's when it's going to hit her. I think in season 2, we would find her broken away from them and onto something else. I think that was her breaking point right there. And I think that maybe she would become a bigger asset to the group in season 2. So yeah, that is, I think that's everybody. Is that everybody? So one of the things that I really, so my breakdown of this, I don't know. I don't know. Oh yeah, and I forgot, in the book, Hero ends up with Beth, Amber Tamlin's character. Funny, right? That's hilarious, right? Yeah. Oh, Jennifer Brown. Okay, so yeah. Did I mention the president? Jennifer Brown. Okay, Jennifer, this woman, she has a cheating ass husband, an unemployed son who wants this, whose art is this thing, and that she's funding, because let's face it, the mama's she's paying for everything. She has Hero, who seems to be getting into all kinds of trouble all the time, in and out of everything, of this thing and that thing, and she is basically holding her family down and holding together this public image of her family as the husband and wife and you know, 2 kids, the boy and the girl. And, you know, that's what everybody sees. And while she's doing that, she's also in government trying to hold things together, while these a-hole conservative, they're not, I wouldn't really say it's conservative or anything. These people in the government who are really just like fanatics, are trying to push like some crazy agendas through onto the people. So she's trying to hold that down, and the president is a dumbass basically. So she's trying to keep all that together, while also keeping this image of her family built up, because her family outside of the image is a hot ass mess. I think when the event is what it's called, when that happens, I think it's the best thing for her, because it stops her need to do this wild juggling that she had to do. And it frees her to do the one thing she wanted to do, which is fix government. That's the one thing that she knew how to do, that she wanted to do. Her kids were adults. They should have been minding their own business and doing their own thing. But they're like, she's still responsible for it. I think she should have done left her husband. But she couldn't. I mean, it would have been too much of a scandal. She would have lost her job. Y'all know how politics is. But the event freed her from that. It freed her from the kids hanging off of her and the husband who just really she shouldn't have had. Freed her to do what she wanted to do, is remake government and the way it should have been. And she was doing a good job at it in the comics. In the show, though, Jennifer, same thing. It seemed like she was, chained to these people that were just not the greatest. In the show, though, I think I actually felt like she loved her family. In the comics, I'm not so sure. I think she did, but it was kind of like, if I can just get rid of these people. The resistance she met, though, I think they put more emphasis on the resistance in the show. They put more resistance on Beth, and the widows, and then the overthrowing of the White House was a thing that was there. And I think that Jennifer's, I think her character from the comic to the show, I think she was a similar strong woman who was given a lot of these great leadership characteristics that, because of all the crazy ass, whiny ass people around her, she was not able to be the leader she could have been. She was too busy solving the bickering and the petty fights and the things that could really, really sink her, instead of doing the big things that she would be great at. So I'm glad they left that intact, I think. Yeah, so the show, final analysis of the show, I love that the deep dive it took. I love seeing the country, and what was going on and how people adapted, and how, people, the healing, like we saw grief, the grief of Nora's daughter, how she cut herself with the knife, trying to chop. She wanted to like kill a bird that was pecking at her dead father's body. Ended up like really injuring herself. We see all these women who don't know what to do with themselves. We see women trying to slip into their husband's old roles as law enforcement. Oh, my husband was an officer, so I'm going to be the new sheriff's deputy or whatever. Woman, you don't even know how to hold a gun. Okay, sorry. I mean, you still, just because your husband's gone, it still don't mean that you can just slip into what he was doing. I mean, unless you were the type of chick who was like holding it down for it already, and he was just the smokescreen for it. Yeah, those women were able to rise forward, but these others, yeah, a lot of them died, and they probably. I was not upset. I saw the bartering, even the women's prison. Like, I love the way they depicted the women's prison. I want to say that. I love that they show that when you took out the toxic masculinity, the guards, the infrastructure that was no longer needed, these women regulated themselves, and they made their own community. They had their own rules. But I really love that. And I really love that they didn't just make it to where, oh, these are a bunch of criminally insane people and they're just out for blood. Because that's not, y'all know the way prisons are now. That's not usually the people that are in there. The majority of them are not like that. So I'm glad they showed that. Yes, it was a good show. And yeah, and it couldn't find an audience. I think that was a marketing problem, but anyway, we'll get that out in just a second. But overall, I think the show had good potential. I think that you could have gone probably maybe to season 3 or 4, even showing the background and how we built up to the time leap that happened in the comics. There was like a good probably 3 seasons. Probably season 4 would have gotten a little bit too far. You could have gone 3 seasons of just the background and how America rebuilt itself. But I also think that some of the characters were a bit too intense for the first season. They went too hard, and I think it turned people off. I think that Beth too much. Roxy was too much, and I think in Hero's kind of intense the wrong way too. I think that that some of the characters maybe could have been dialed back a little bit, and maybe their intensity growing as we got to know them. And this whole sleepwalking thing they did with 355 and making 355 flawed, I think that was too soon too. I don't think we needed 355 to have the issues that she was having. I think that was too much too soon. And in all the episodes, they were trying to do too much in the episode instead of just concentrating on one area or one theme and going with that. I think that they're another show that could look to like Doom Patrol for an example of how you can have a host of characters and do everybody's story without making the episode seem too stuffed full, or to make it seem like you didn't get enough of one person's story without yeah. About it. Oh yeah, so you don't think they should have had Hero till the end? Well, they had to have him because in the comics he was there. He's a concentration. Why the last man? The why is Uric. So you have to have Uric from the beginning. I think that if they wouldn't have had Uric from the beginning, they would have lost people early. So they had to have him. Some of these other characters they could have waited. Yeah, I mean, I think they could have waited for some of them. Anyway, final thoughts. I think this show, probably if I had to rate it out of a 5, I would have given it a 3. I think that it had potential as a first season, and it could have blossomed into a really good thing if it could have found an audience, if it could have, found a direction on what it was going to do. I don't even think that the show should have even tackled or solved why the white chromosomes were gone. I think that because if you remember, Brian K. Vaughan gave out these theories because he didn't want there to be a solid theory on why the men were gone. Yeah, he didn't want that. So I'm just like, yeah, I don't think they should have tackled that, but I like that it was going to be more than just Hero and his group traveling the traveling around. I think that worked for the comic. It was not going to work for anything else. It wasn't going to work for the show. Yeah, I'm thinking final thoughts. Final send off. The show could have been great. I hope maybe it's rebooted in a couple of years once they kind of get an idea of how shows like this work. I think that this is some sci-fi that we kind of need more shows similar to it to work with, so they kind of get an idea of how to do it. Okay, so I think that so to get a direction or I don't know, a focus or something. I think that we need to I think we need more. I think we need more shows maybe to come, or maybe some more thought. I don't know, but I think that this needed some more tweaking. I can see why they rushed it out though. Y'all know the show has been in development for 10 years, right? 10 years it's been in development. So I think it was like, it's about time we got to do something with it or not. I think there is, I don't know when it is, but there is a statute. There's a limit. Once you buy the rights of a show, you have only so long to hold those rights before it goes back. So I think that it's like, okay, we need to do something or give up the rights. Maybe a movie would have been better. You know what? Maybe a movie would have been better. I don't know. But you would have had that problem of, too much into one place. I don't know. So yeah, I really think I love the effort. This is one of the better comic adaptations I think that I've seen. And y'all know there's been some terrible ones, some bad ones, some bad ones. This is one of the good ones, but I think that sorry, Why the Last Man. I wanted you to work. I was rooting for you. I was rooting for you. But I think you had to die. I'm sorry. Just like Lori in The Walking Dead, you had to die. But maybe you had to die so that better shows can live. I mean, maybe you had to build this groundwork so that we can get some of our other favorite stories. Any of this back here. So we can get some of our other favorite sci-fi stories on the air. Once they see, what people like, what people go for. I don't know. I think that you sacrificed yourself for a good cause. We appreciate that. You did good. But I don't think it was gonna last. So that's my 2 cents. In the comments of this, when you watch it, I know most of you watch later on. That's okay with us. Tessa and I don't mind. But in the comments, tell us what you think. Or come find me on social media, Jonita L. Davis, right here. And tell me what you think of the show. And what my breakdown of the show and what you think of the show. I think the show was more socially responsible, and it did. That's what I want to add. I want to add that it also showed how you can take the concepts from a comic that were dated, that were controversial, that were homophobic, and make them modern, make them to where they represent more people. And they did this by using actual trans people to consult with, and actual people who worked with trans people to consult with, which I appreciated. So yeah. Yeah, what do you think? So that's all I have for today. Come back next week with Tess and me. We're going to have a special nighttime episode where we get into Eternals. I know you guys have heard all kinds of stuff about Eternals. You have the critics. I don't understand my fellow critics. We'll get into that. Tess and I loved it. My fellow critics have bombed the movie. But the audience, I think the audience scores are going to be good. I think you guys are going to like it. I think so. But Eternals comes out this week. We will be back next Wednesday night talking about it, breaking it all the way down. Some of our favorite parts, and everything, and we'll do a nighttime episode. So, come live with us, come chill. We'll watch our social media. We'll give you a time. I got to show this. The back. See, I think the backlash is helping. Go see it for yourself. Okay, that's all I gotta say. See it for yourself, and then come back next week with us and come chat about it. Well, it'll be a chill episode. We'll chat with you in the comments, so y'all come in and hang with us next Wednesday night. Yeah. So that's it for today, folks. I am going to I'm making sure I did everything I'm supposed to do. Okay. I'm going to, we'll see you next week. Find me anywhere at Jonita L. Davis, or at the Black Cape and Black Cape Media on YouTube. And I'll see you all next week. Bye.